Have you ever looked at the news coming out of Israel and felt like you were watching history unfold in real time? It's more than just headlines. For many, it's the fulfillment of prophecies written thousands of years ago. What if the conflicts, the political shifts, and the very existence of modern Israel are all part of a divine story that's reaching its climax? Today, we're embarking on a journey into the heart of biblical prophecy, exploring how ancient scriptures seem to be coming alive in the 21st century. This isn't about predicting the future with a crystal ball. It's about understanding the past to make sense of the present. We'll connect the dots between the sacred texts of the Bible and the complex reality of Israel today. So, get ready to see the world, and perhaps your own faith, in a completely new light. For centuries, the Jewish people were scattered across the globe, a nation without a homeland. This dispersion, known as the diaspora, was itself foretold by prophets like Moses in the book of Deuteronomy. He warned that if the people turned away from God, they would be scattered among all the nations, from one end of the earth to the other. And for nearly 2,000 years, that was their reality. Yet, within those same ancient texts, there was a promise, a beacon of hope. The prophet Jeremiah spoke of a day when God would bring the descendants of Israel back from the land of the north and from all the countries where he had banished them, and he would restore them to the land he gave their ancestors. Then, something extraordinary happened. On May 14, 1948, the State of Israel was declared. After centuries of exile, the Jewish people had a home again. For many Christians, this wasn't just a political event, it was a miracle, a direct fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Ezekiel 37 contains the famous vision of the Valley of Dry Bones. In this vision, God shows the prophet a valley full of bones and asks, "Son of man, can these bones live?" God then commands Ezekiel to prophesy to the bones, and they miraculously come together, are covered with flesh, and receive breath, standing up as a vast army. God explains this vision, saying, "These bones are the whole house of Israel. I will take the Israelites out of the nations where they have gone. I will gather them from all around and bring them back into their own land." The rebirth of Israel as a nation is often seen as the literal reassembling of these dry bones, a scattered people brought back to life in their ancestral homeland. This single event is arguably the most significant prophetic fulfillment in modern history, setting the stage for everything that was to follow. With the people back in the land, other prophecies began to take on new meaning. Think about the land itself. The prophet Isaiah wrote that the desert and the parched land will be glad, the wilderness will rejoice and blossom like the crocus. When Mark Twain visited the region in the 1860s, he described it as a desolate, hopeless, and silent land. Yet today, Israel is a world leader in agricultural technology. Israeli innovation has literally made the desert bloom, with advanced irrigation techniques turning arid soil into fertile farmland, exporting fruits, vegetables, and flowers around the world. This physical transformation of the land is another powerful sign for many that God's hand is at work, fulfilling his promise to restore not just the people, but the very earth they inhabit. Another major focus of biblical prophecy is the city of Jerusalem. The prophet Zechariah wrote that Jerusalem would become a cup that sends all the surrounding peoples reeling, and an immovable rock for all the nations. Anyone who tries to move it will surely be injured. Does this sound familiar? Jerusalem is arguably the most contested city on earth. Its status is at the heart of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and is a point of contention for nations around the globe. International bodies, political leaders, and armies have all tried to solve the Jerusalem problem, yet it remains a focal point of global tension, just as Zechariah predicted thousands of years ago. The very name Jerusalem is on the lips of world leaders daily, a tiny city with an immense global significance that defies simple political explanation. In 1967, during the Six-Day War, Israeli soldiers captured the old city of Jerusalem, including the Temple Mount and the Western Wall. This was a monumental event. For the first time in nearly 2 millennia, the Jewish people had control over their holiest site. This event brought another set of prophecies into sharp focus, those concerning the rebuilding of the Jewish temple. The first and second temples were destroyed in 586 BC and 70 AD, respectively. Jesus himself prophesied the destruction of the second temple, telling his disciples that not one stone would be left on another. Today, the Dome of the Rock, an Islamic shrine, stands on the Temple Mount. Yet, many scriptures in both the Old and New Testaments speak of a future temple. The prophet Daniel and the apostle Paul both mention a future temple in their end times prophecies. Today, there are active organizations in Jerusalem, like the Temple Institute, dedicated to preparing for the construction of a third temple. They have recreated the sacred vessels, the priestly garments, and have even been working to re-establish the ancient Levitical priesthood. While the political and religious obstacles to rebuilding the temple are immense, the very fact that these preparations are underway is seen by many as a clear sign that this prophecy is moving toward fulfillment. As we watch events unfold, we also see prophecy concerning the nations surrounding Israel. Psalm 83 describes a confederacy of nations bordering Israel that conspire together, saying, "Come, let us destroy them as a nation, so that Israel's name is remembered no more." Commentators often point to the consistent animosity from Israel's immediate neighbors as a reflection of this ancient psalm. Similarly, the prophecy of Ezekiel 38 and 39 describes a future invasion of Israel by a coalition of nations led by a figure called Gog of the land of Magog. The text lists specific allies, including Persia, modern-day Iran, as well as nations identified by some scholars as modern-day Russia, Turkey, and others. For decades, these alignments seemed unlikely. But today, we see a powerful alliance forming between Russia, Iran, and Turkey, all of whom have a growing military presence in Syria, right on Israel's northern border. Their stated opposition to Israel and its allies makes the Ezekiel 38 prophecy feel less like an ancient story and more like a potential future headline. This growing coalition of nations, hostile to Israel, is one of the most closely watched prophetic developments today. So what does all this mean for us, right now? The Bible is clear that no one knows the day or the hour of Christ's return. Jesus himself said that. The purpose of prophecy isn't to create a detailed timetable, but to give us hope and to encourage us to be watchful. In the Gospel of Luke, Jesus uses the analogy of a fig tree. He says, "Look at the fig tree and all the trees. When they sprout leaves, you can see for yourselves and know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things happening, you know that the kingdom of God is near." Many Bible scholars have long associated the fig tree with the nation of Israel. When Israel was scattered, the tree was barren. But in 1948, it began to sprout leaves again. Now, we see it blossoming. The fulfillment of these prophecies isn't meant to cause fear, but to build faith. It's a reminder that God is in control of history and that He keeps His promises. He promised to scatter Israel, and He did. He promised to bring them back, and He did. He promised the land would be restored, and it is. He promised Jerusalem would be a source of global tension, and it is. Therefore, the Bible encourages us to be aware, to watch, and to pray. To pray for the peace of Jerusalem, as Psalm 122 instructs. This isn't just a prayer for an absence of conflict, but a prayer for the ultimate peace that comes from God's divine plan being fulfilled. We are living in a truly unprecedented time. We can open our Bibles and then turn on the news and see the ancient words come to life before our very eyes. This is a privilege no previous generation has had in quite the same way. Whether you are a person of deep faith or simply a curious observer of history, the story unfolding in Israel is compelling. It suggests that our world is not just a series of random events, but part of a grand, unfolding narrative. As we continue to watch the Middle East, let's do so with an understanding of the profound spiritual significance of what's happening. The prophecies are not just about Israel, they are about God's redemptive plan for all of humanity. They point toward a future where peace will ultimately reign. Keep watching, keep learning, and keep praying. The story is far from over. Thanks for joining us on this journey. If this has sparked your interest, please like, subscribe, and share, so more people can explore these incredible truths. See you next time.